Strategy is arguably the most important work a leader does, but it's the first thing to go hungry. Urgency screams, but strategy whispers. Most leaders don't kill strategy, they starve it. I'm Michael Bruner. I help leaders set strategic direction so that it sticks. By the end of this video, you'll see why even the smartest leaders let strategy starve. Learn the 4 disciplines that help fill the strategic center and have a way to keep strategy fresh rather than fading away. Let's jump straight in. Strategy is the most important work a leader does, but it often goes hungry. Here's the thesis of this piece. Most leaders don't kill strategy on purpose, they starve it. The center of the organization, the place where strategy lives, slowly fades, slowly empties out. The tyranny of the urgent fills the calendar and drains all of the oxygen away. Quarterly priorities rotate, leadership changes bringing new direction, and momentum wanes in the organization as the strategic center drains out. I've watched it happen from inside a Fortune 500 company. 3 decades of strategy cycles, planning retreats, quarterly reviews, strategy sessions. The strategies themselves were not bad. They were just unconnected, unnourished, and unfed. There's a reason this happens, and it's not laziness or incompetence, although we could all build our strategy chops a little more. It's centrifugal force. The faster an organization spins, the more it pulls people away from the center. Then AI walked into the room. What used to take 2 weeks now takes 2 hours. The calendar didn't get lighter, it got louder. The promise was that we would have more time for strategic thinking. The reality is that AI has accelerated the pace at which things get done. Now everything spins faster and the strategic window keeps shrinking. Add to that the AI strategy scramble itself. Every leader is trying to figure out how to use AI and how it can create the most value for their organization. And very few have landed it because the technology is evolving faster than their plan can be implemented. And that uncertainty with AI becomes another reason we defer the strategy for the whole organization. We can't do strategy until we figure out AI. So strategy waits. A loud calendar, swirling priorities, a crowded plate, and an empty center. The fix is 4 disciplines to protect and nurture the conditions that strategy actually needs to develop. Time, context, reflection, and choice. Apply all 4 and the strategic center starts to fill. Skip any of them and it stays hungry. 4 disciplines to a stronger strategic center. Let me show you how each one works. First, protect strategy time. Urgency screams, but strategy whispers. Strategy is the kind of work that disappears as soon as you stop reserving time for it. It does not invoice you, it does not page you at night, it doesn't show up in your inbox with a red exclamation point by it. So it gets the time that's left over, which is usually no time at all. Here's the failure mode. Many leaders treat strategy as a meeting that they attend. An offsite once a year, a planning week in December, a session with the consultants. They show up, they participate, they leave with the deck. Then the deck stays on the shelf because the calendar doesn't have the time for the discipline to turn the deck into direction. The Eisenhower matrix famously predicted this. 2 axes, urgent and not urgent, important and not important. Stephen Covey, in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, famously named Quadrant 2 as the dangerous quadrant. Strategy's Quadrant 2 work. It's important, but rarely urgent. So it loses every time to work that is merely loud and pressing and demanding and now. And the modern calendar is the loudest it's ever been. And AI made it worse. The first promise of AI was that it would free us to think. The reality is that it freed us to execute faster, which filled the calendar with more execution. The time you saved on analysis went into 3 more meetings on the next analysis. The strategic thinking time didn't appear. It was allocated to volume and getting more done. Then there is the AI strategy trap itself. Every leader is trying to figure out where AI fits in their business. But the technology moves faster than the plan can be written. So the strategic conversation becomes a hostage. We'll think about strategy after we figure out AI. That wait is forever because AI doesn't stop moving. The application is not glamorous. Block the time, recurring. Make strategy a priority for you and your team on your calendar. Not negotiable for anything else but an emergency. Protect that time. 2 hours a week, not 2 days a year. Make it visible to your team so they stop interrupting you. Make it visible to yourself so you stop spending time on the most recent urgent thing. Protect the time and the rest becomes possible. The team will follow your lead. If you don't prioritize strategies as a leader, Your team will default to prioritizing crossing things off their to-do list. Skip the discipline and nothing downstream matters. Next, take stock. Reflection reveals, activity obscures. Strategy starts with where you actually are, not where you wish you were. Most leaders skip this step because they confuse activity with progress. The strategic plan from last year sits on the shelf, unexamined. The in-flight initiatives multiply or stagnate without audit. The dashboard updates while the underlying questions go unanswered. Reflection is the bridge from strategy to execution. Take a step back and ask where you really are on the journey, where you started, where you stand now, where you're headed. Then look back at the strategies committed to last year. Have you actually delivered on them? What launched? What dropped? What got watered down by the urgent? Score yourself honestly, not for the board or senior management, for yourself. Then look at your in-flight initiatives. What's working and what's not working? What is a good bet that didn't pan out and has gone sideways? What is the marginal bet that quietly got traction and made impact? Most of what looks like a strategy view is actually reporting. Status reports tell you what's getting done. Reflection tells you whether it should be. The honest assessment isn't weakness, it's clarity. And clarity is what separates the people that actually shape and move organizations. Ground in context. Strategy anchors and opinion swirls. Strategy is a forecast about the future and how we operate, but it has to be built upon what is true about the present. Without that grounding, strategy becomes a contest of opinions. And the opinion that wins is the one that was spoken last by the most senior person in the room. That's fine in the moment, but it's fatal when leadership changes. The opinion-driven strategy lives as long as the leader who held that opinion. The next leader arrives with a different opinion and the organization swivels. After 2 or 3 swivels, the momentum is all but lost. Real momentum and progress require constancy of purpose. It takes time to change the direction of a big ship. Worse yet, they learn to wait for the next reorganization or opportunity. Deming said it 60 years ago. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. That line has been quoted a million times because it's a very clean test on whether the strategy holds its weight. If a strategic conversation is built on what people think, it dies with them. If it is built on what is observed about the consumer and the customer, the market, our capability set, and the competition, it survives the people who built it. Context is not just a binder of slides. Context is a small set of data anchors that frame the choice. The right data just begs for action. Some are external, like what is the customer actually doing? What do they actually want? What is our category actually moving towards? What are the competitors actually shipping? Some are internal. What's the performance and price of our offering compared to the next best alternative? Can customers find our offering? Okay. Are they aware of it? What does the brand actually stand for? What are our real capabilities, not just our aspirational capability? Deming said it 60 years ago. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. Neuroscientists have a name for what data does to a group conversation. They call it cognitive grounding. What that means is that when a group is looking at a common external reference, the conversation becomes about that reference, not about whose opinion is the loudest. The way to apply it is to walk into every strategic conversation with the data on the wall before the opinions enter the room. Then the leadership change problem solves itself. The new leaders arrive. They look at the data and the aligned strategy. The data is true, the strategy built on it is still true, direction holds, efforts compound. The team starts to believe and momentum starts to be built. Data anchors, opinions swirl, choose one. Make the choice. Strategy is what you don't do, what you cut away. Here's the line that defines strategy. Michael Porter wrote it in 1996, and nothing has replaced it. The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. Most strategy decks are filled with everything that an organization could do. That is not a strategy. That is a wish list. A strategy is a much shorter document that names the things you are willing to give up to do the few things you have chosen. The trap is deceptive. Adding feels productive and subtractive feels like losing. Every initiative on the list has someone who championed it, a team that built it, a story about why it matters. Cutting it feels like cutting them, and that doesn't feel good. And every initiative gets just enough resources to keep it alive, but not enough to make it succeed. The hardest sentence in strategy is no, we will not do that. It is hard because it disappoints someone. It is necessary because if we do everything, it means we do nothing well. There's a clue buried in the word itself. Decide comes from the Latin caedere, meaning to cut. The same root gives us incision and concise and scissors. To decide is literally to cut away. Strategy is a decision at scale. To cut is strategy. Here's the diagnostic. Look at your strategic plan. If you cannot name 3 things you're not willing to do, you don't have a strategy. You have a budget allocation across things that you could do well. The application is uncomfortable on purpose. Name 3 things that you're willing to stop this quarter. Not pause, stop. Reallocate people, reallocate the budget, reallocate the attention. Tell the team why. Tell the executive whose project you cut why it was not the highest value use of the constrained resources. Then watch what happens to what you kept. The thing that you protect with subtraction finally gets the focus to win. Strategy is what you don't do. Choose, and the few things that you chose start to move. Pulling this all together, strategy isn't just a document, it's a practice. Refresh it annually, revisit it as context shifts, hold the line in between. The cadence is what protects the 4 disciplines. The strategic center fills when you protect the time to think, when you reflect, when you ground the conversation in data and choose what you will not do. It empties when you do not. The evergreen practice is a small habit underneath the 4 disciplines. A recurring block of time on your calendar, a small set of anchors on the wall, a short list of choices, including the choices what to stop, done once a year, touched once a quarter, held the rest of the time. That is how a starving strategy gets fed. That is how the center gets filled. Try it this week. Block 2 hours on next week's calendar and label it strategy. Show up. Bring a data point. Leave with 1 thing you're willing to stop doing. That is the smallest version of the practice. It works. Next, I'm going to write about the second half of strategy. Strategy development is important, but without deployment, strategy languishes and doesn't make impact. Subscribe to catch it. If you found something useful here, be strategic and put it into practice. Deming named the principle 70 years ago. Create constancy of purpose toward improving a product or service. The 4 disciplines are how you keep it. Protect time, take stock, ground the context in data, make choices on what you will not do. Hold the line until the strategic circle fills.